So I guess what I may start with is asking like what brought you here tonight? What had you interested in joining this call? And feel free to just speak. And if you don't, I'll call you out.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Well, I'll go ahead. I mean, I had seen one of these recordings that Alex had sent out to his mailing list that I'm on, and I thought, oh, well, that's kind of an interesting concept. I wonder how that works. So it's more of a curiosity, and it turned out that often on, I guess, Wednesday nights, today's Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday nights, I wasn't available. So I thought, okay, I'm available tonight, so I'm going to see what this is all about. And then I was intrigued um, by the objective of this particular session. I thought, oh, okay, well, let's see. I'm really kind of jumping right in. And the thing that struck me is I wondered about the wisdom of having 90 minutes. That might seem a little bit long for some people.
Mhm.
That's really the only feedback I can provide because I haven't come to your meetings at all, so I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
Okay.
Well, I love the idea of this. I love the idea of like-minded groups like this, where we talk about different topics that are very profound and concern us all. And then hopefully we're, you know, operate from a very like positive perspective and not go down any rabbit holes as so many times that happens on calls like this, which is some, for a limited amount of time, it's okay.
Mhm.
Um, really, really like what you've done so far, Alex, and I do regret, my life has been kind of topsy-turvy the past several months. So I wasn't able to make all the calls, which it is what it is. And sometimes I just get busy and I forget. Like tonight, I was really conscious of it all day. And then my housemates came home and distractions and thank goodness I remembered, oh my God, there's a Zoom call. Gotta get up there. And I did because I can do that pretty easily if I'm distracted. Just forget about something I've been thinking about doing all day. Yeah, so I love these calls. I really, really like the people that I know and I see again here, and then new faces and new ideas, and I just really, really enjoy. Of course, in person is better, but this is kind of great as well.
Well, thank you, Joanna. Okay, and Leanne, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with Joanna. I think the whole notion of having a community of like-minded people to be very helpful for all of us, particularly because there's the world is a bit topsy-turvy, and and it isn't necessarily to be in a bubble, but it's more to make sure that we're feeding, again, to Joanna's point, the positive notions to be able to build on that, because what's around us can be virtually the opposite, right? So I think that we need to come together every once in a while to make sure that we're um, promoting that. And it doesn't mean that we can't explore some of the things that maybe might be concerning us. But again, to Joanna's point, there's certainly a lot of that, and I wouldn't want it to be a you know what is it, a venting session. But I think there
Mhm.
might be place for that for somebody if they're having a rough time.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, with thank you guys for sharing your perspective on this. This is like a new thing I've been trying to put out into the ether, and I'm going to give you a bit of an origin story so that kind of get you up to speed. Um, so this is like part of the I Am Wellness Association, and I started with Wendy and formerly Minnie, who was part of it but stepped out. And I think around that time too, I was like struggling with like, what is this? Because I kind of just did it and I didn't think maybe far enough ahead. But this has been like a long standing vision of mine to build something that is counterculture, in the sense of not to be in opposition, but to establish a new culture, essentially, based on values and supporting each other. And so the this actually started with a vision I had called, it was Upward at the time, UPWARD, and it stood for United in Purpose, We All Realize Our Dreams. And so a big portion of what I have been wanting to achieve is like, how do we get together and make all of our dreams possible? This isn't just my vision. This is, for me, my vision includes everyone else's vision. And I want to find harmony in that. But I struggled for a long time with my own stuff as well as just getting people together. And it's still challenging. And so I felt like I was on my own personal journey. And then when I had met Minnie, she kind of re-sparked this, okay, let's get things moving. And then I met Wendy and it was like, okay, let's make this more official. And then we came up with, this I Am Wellness Association. It started off as like, we wanted to make a wellness association because Wendy was primarily focused on like health and nutrition. And I thought of well-being as like, yeah, in order for us to grow, we need to be healthy and um, to move this thing forward. So I was really trying to set a foundation. And, the three main principles with I Am Wellness is compassion and humility and integrity. And I came up with these three principles when dealing with a discussion. I don't even know if I want to call it discussion, but, it was an argument that really didn't end well, regarding during the COVID times. And I was like, how can I prevent this from the future? What are some agreements we can have? And eventually I came on these three principles. I'm like, if we can agree to this, I think we can make things work. And so, yeah, fast forward getting to us launching the first event, which was the I Am Love event. And it's all stemming from this idea of like, I am, like just affirming who we are. But at the same time too, like I am is also part of a whole. And I wanted us to kind of unite under some values and find ways to establish trust and build something together. But it's challenging because everyone's got all their own, lives and things they're doing. And so we had a pretty good launch, but at the same time, I've been feeling like, oh man, I'm juggling all these things. And I'm getting the impression that perhaps people are, you know, jumping into this or aligning with it, but maybe they're coming at it with their own perception of what they think this is versus what it actually is. And at this point too, I'm kind of getting to a point where like, I'm not sure exactly what it is either. But I do know that over the few years that we've been operating as this I Am Wellness Association and putting out newsletters and inviting people to speak at the house, and there have been people who've been showing up regularly. And I guess I would want to honor that and being like, well, they stuck around for a reason. I'm not sure what that reason is. This is why I'm here to ask those kinds of questions. And for me, the importance of this particular call is focused on getting more of that clarity to see what this is and what it's going to grow into, because life, especially even for me, it's just taken a bunch of twists and turns. And And the reason I started Pulse and the reason I even called it Pulse was because I want to get a pulse check on like the heartbeat of the community, like what is happening with people. And so that's what Pulse to me represents. And the goal was to have more in person as well, but I figured it was good to just start with something that's easy to connect to, and then seeing who shows up regularly. Can we commit to showing up in person? And yeah, so that's been the evolution right now, and I'm just feeling things out. And with I Am Wellness, I wanted to have a directory where we could see everybody who's involved, but like there's a lot of just work that kind of really rested on my shoulders, being the one who manages the website and the emails and really everything technical regarding the association. So I think right now at this point, it's really just been, a collection of like-minded people who seem to share similar values. And
The connection is very unstable.
right now, oh, Joanna, are you saying something?
Yes, I was saying that my internet connection is very unstable, perhaps because of air pressure, storm coming in. So I didn't really hear, like, what you mostly said was garbled.
Okay. It might help if you turn off your video. That might help because then you're not uploading so much data. So if this is helping you, give me a thumbs up or just say something.
Yeah, we won't see the thumb.
Well, there's a little there's an icon or.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely right. Oops.
So, anyways, I'm gonna have a recording of what I've been saying, so that I'll try to publish as soon as I can. And yeah, what else did I want to say on Pulse? Just
It didn't help.
no, it didn't help.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I can. You're clear now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this will be recorded, so on my end, everything will be here. It just sucks if you can't hear me and being able to respond to me. I will have a part where we're interacting a little more, and I apologize that if, like Leanne, you were coming in to kind of see what this is like, and before we were talking about story and that was my means of trying to see if we can start looking at our lives as the story. And I guess this is the way I look at things, and what I'm trying to build here is a collective story, right? So we all have our individual stories, but then there's also this, what is this larger story that we're trying to write here together? And that's where I'm checking in right now to see like where people are at, like what are people's expectations of this? What are they getting out of this connection? And we may not even be conscious of it. We just know that we're maybe drawn to something, but I want us to be maybe a little more conscious. I want us to dive a little bit into like what brings us here, and in what capacity can we work together on projects. And I'm not expecting us all to necessarily be totally in sync, but I want us to get to a point where we start building teams. Because what I'm noticing about a lot of communities is it's easy to get a lot of people together, but it's hard to keep them motivated to move in a direction. And this is where I wanted, like for me, the evolution of going from community to team gives us a direction, gives us some goals, and has us a little more invested in each other, I think is important. Because like if we're trying to establish community in a tribe, we need to start establishing trust. And what I realized by being in a men's circle for the past 3 years has been that trust, even without it being explicitly written in a contract, just by attending regularly and being with people, there's this natural unconscious trust that we're developing. Kind of like with family too, just by being in proximity with them for so long in our lives, there's a certain level of trust we have with them because there's a familiarity. And that's what I was hoping to establish with Pulse. And so at this stage now, I feel like a lot of people kind of showed up to support me or to support the community, but I'm not too sure if people are getting value out of these calls. And so like right now, this is where I'm just trying to evaluate what the I Am Wellness Association is, what value it's providing people, and where we want to take it. Because it's not just my vision, like as much as I spearheaded it, I want to make sure that this is something that people are getting value out of, and that that it does have a direction. Like you were saying, Leanne, earlier about, the future can be kind of scary when we don't know what we're moving towards. But if we at least set a plan, it's a little less scary because there's a direction. And that's I think where I want to take it. So I guess I'll stop from rambling at this point and open it back up to I guess my first question is so what is the I Am Wellness Association for you, or what does this mean, this community? And it's kind of open, so just share your opinions.
I mean, I've participated in a few of the at house events. This is the first virtual one that I've participated in or attended. So I guess the way that I would define it is a well-intended collective put on by you and your housemates to provide opportunities for like-minded people to get together, hang out, learn, explore, laugh, sing, dance. So it's a very welcoming space. And I guess what I would suggest is there's an expression in business, which is it's easier to keep a client than to get a new one. So the thing is that if you have people that are interested, I think if you come up with a recipe or an agenda, but I don't want to be agendas too bureaucratic, but a recipe for engagement. In effect, as the leader or the moderator, you should be sitting back as you're doing, asking a question, and let the group dynamics kind of take over, unless you've got one person that's dominating and going off on a tangent, but so it's a matter of, it might be as simple as asking people what is a challenge that you're facing right now, and what did you see that brought awe into your life this week or this month. So then you're balancing the real struggles where the collective can maybe support, ooze advice if that's what's wanted, or explain how they've approached things, but also letting that individual say, but I saw something really cool and it was this. So then you're not walking away after having just a vent fest. It's joy as well as mutual exploration and learning, which is what I think I Am Wellness is all about.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think I need to hire you as my PR person. That was so well worded.
Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
I find that it has great value for me. For many, many, many years, and occasionally I still do. Follow more of a native traditional protocol of speaking in circle with talking stick. And for many, many years, I facilitated new moon women's circles. And we only had a couple of rules. And one of them was we don't fix. We listen. We don't fix. If somebody asks specifically for advice, all right. We're able to offer that.
Good point.
As far as, oh, well, maybe you could try this. Oh, maybe you could, well, I did that. Well, no. There's no fixing. So after a few years, this was an intentional circle with a talking stick and smudging and the whole 9 yards. And after a while, well, a couple of years, um, I actually saw individuals change. So we weren't fixing. It was the power of spirit. It was the power of the circle. We have an intention for the circle, and it did its work over time. I don't know if those individuals realized that they were going through change, but I noticed. Like it was awesome. So I guess that's part of where I come from, is that setting that kind of tradition. Now for these events, and I just want to say, Alex, you're very, very good about keeping it in order and facilitating that. It's well done, well done, well
Thank you.
done, Grasshopper.
Thank you.
And
I did do some training on facilitation, and I'm borrowing a lot
Yeah,
from the men's
paid off.
circle.
so for these particular events, I really like you. I really like Wendy, and I really like most of the people that, well, I would say all, because I don't know them, some of them at all. And that would continue until some, red flags or something.
Mhm.
But I feel very, very comfortable in sharing. And if I leave any place or anything, any event, feeling that I am more fulfilled, that my spirit has been fed, then that is of immense value to me. Like that's kind of what I live for, is feeding my spirit, feeding my soul. Um, whether it comes from this kind of event or more traditional circles or singing, dancing, whatever. But yeah, like when I leave a place and I'm feeling more fulfilled, then it's valuable to me. And I say thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy that I can help fill your soul a little bit, feed it a bit.
So Joanna, I just want to go back to a point that you made, that it was very, very valuable, is to not ooze advice, and particularly unless you're asked. So in this kind of a forum, do you think, if it's understood by the moderator, that people are going to share whatever their challenge is, and that doesn't mean we have to ooze advice, we just listen? And is it helpful, or does it feel like advice if somebody says, I kind of get it because this is what happened to me, and they end up telling their story, whatever, of that lens? Is that something that worked in your circle? Is that how the dynamics worked?
No,
Okay.
because I think that would be categorized as like fixing. Like within these circles, you are connecting with the creator energies, that frequency. So you're telling creator what your story is. Now, it's not impossible, but I would think that in a circle like that, with the intention that we had, there would not be like identical stories. Like everybody's got their own story.
Right.
So it was kind of encouraged. You're speaking with creator, you're telling your own story. You got an issue that you want to express. Well, we're unless asked, we're not gonna offer advice or a similar story for comparison or whatnot. We're each like we're a collective, but we're individuals, and we're sharing with the group. But mainly, this is a conversation between the individual and spirit.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I also like I think the way our circle is set up from the men's circle I'm in is probably based on like indigenous circles. I haven't personally been to one, but we have a fire in the middle or like a candle, and the idea is that we're speaking to the fire or speaking to creator. And and yeah, we do the whole like no advice giving portion as well. And usually if somebody can relate to a story, what we'll do is just put our hand on our chest and we'll say like, yeah, just so we're not cross talking, and we allow them to
Mhm.
say their story, but you can also acknowledge that like that resonated with me, whatever you said.
Yeah, well, we say aho,
Oh, yeah.
aho. So that means, wow, that totally resonated with me. And I have a similar thing going on, but that's all we have to say is aho. And then move on with our own story.
Yeah, and so this is essentially the culture I want to continue forward because I see the value of this circle culture where we meet regularly and share a piece of our story so that we're all a little bit more connected to ourselves and to each other and to creator. and and yeah, I guess like I'd love to move this more into like in person, and a part of our agreements too is like confidentiality and stuff. And so I was torn with kind of making this like an online thing. And but like, would you find value if I just made these more private? Because before I've been just recording the sessions and just wanting to put out to the community like what is happening. But at the same time, if we're going to be having more in-depth conversations, we may not want to share all this to the world. And that's what I wanted more of the heartbeat to be. So this pulse is like just kind of the first check, and then heartbeat was going to be the in-person meetings that we try to do, and then the frequency was going to be maybe more of the online, like broader community where people can check in between meetings and things like that.
Mhm.
I still go ahead.
Well, we're on a Zoom call.
Mhm.
So basically, the whole world knows what we're saying here.
Yeah.
So it's not a secret. I mean, that's where I work from is if you're on the computer, potentially the whole world will know what you said. So forget about secretive.
Yeah. Well, not so much about secretive. It's just to honor the confidentiality, but at the same time, it
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
I just can let people know like you're in control of what you share here, and just so you know, this is it runs the risk of being out there. So the encouragement would be that I want to have ones where we are more confidential. We can dive a little deeper, but I don't want to necessarily start with that because I want to ease people into, I guess, the space. And then I guess moving on to the next question, then, like, what do you need in order to feel safe or to establish trust within these kind of gatherings?
Well, I would suggest that, to Joanna's point, it's true. Big Brother is quite prevalent in any form of electronics. There's no question. But I would suggest that, particularly at the onset, maybe what you make available as recordings is an understanding of what we do, what we're trying to accomplish, and how we're doing it. So sort of an overview of this is what these are all about. Come and join us and see how it goes. That could be your recording, and that could be your promo piece.
Yeah.
To record these individual sessions, the one that that I paid attention to, you lost me by about the 40-minute mark. It was just like, okay, well, whatever, you know. So because it wasn't relevant to me because I wasn't there. I mean, if you're talking about something that was present in my life, as an example, let's say it's dramatic and I apologize, but it works. If somebody in my life has committed suicide and somebody on the session is talking about having had a family member or somebody committing suicide and that's how they coped, I would be in for the whole time, right? But otherwise, it's not something that would really interest me, and I just don't think so. I'm just saying, if you're going to record stuff and use it as a promo, explaining what this is and how it works, and inviting people to come. Because I don't know what is the value really of recording something like. I mean, this is exploratory, so it's a little different, but maybe it means at the end of the day you can go back to it and review it, and that might be helpful for you as a moderator, right?
Yeah.
But make it available to everybody and anybody, I'm not sure the value of that.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, if I was in a setting where we were in, like, person around a fire with a talking stick, I would share things because I know that there's a confidentiality agreement, and the things would not ever leave that space, theoretically. And this is a totally different thing where it's just kind of surface stuff, like kind of things that we have been sharing. So I'm not going to make like a deep dive into my soul and share it in this kind of configuration.
Yeah.
I think also that depth kind of comes with time with the community. The more that you've spent time together in whatever form, the more likely you are to create bonds of trust, right?
Mhm.
So like, yeah, this is all a big experiment for me. So I'm just trying things out. And I wonder, like, I think you have a good suggestion, like in terms of like this being more of a promo, which is kind of what I had in my mind. It's like I wanted to kind of softly introduce people to this kind of way of talking and sharing. But I wonder if there'd be more value if I really did just make this more private or more in person. And I guess for me, the struggle is I'm trying to meet a bunch of people's needs. You know, I know that not everyone can make it in person and there's like inconsistency. Because this might have been really strange too if I set up a thing and like maybe just two people showed up. I'm not sure like what we'd make of that. Well, I guess it becomes super intimate at that point and there's work to be done. But at the same time too, like I guess I'm perhaps I'm still not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Is maybe where I think my struggles are is I'm trying to perfect things before they even get started, and so this is an attempt to just try things out. But yeah, like I guess a follow up is more like what would make you want to come back? Like what would really like make you go, okay, I gotta be there?
I think if
Can I ask a question, Alex? When you like, I probably know, but I probably forgot. You know, when I was reading your invitation to join this meeting, do you give the topics there?
Yeah, I usually preface it by this. We're going to discuss a little bit on this. I haven't really put like a topic, but if that's something that you think is valuable, I guess what I'm avoiding is sometimes we like to just talk about a topic and perhaps get our opinions on it. And
Maybe
I
you
guess for me,
ask people for suggestions. Like, why are you willing to share topics that you would like discussed? Maybe just a suggestion.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe, I think it's a good idea to see if people have ideas, but I think that it can happen sort of naturally. But it wouldn't hurt for you to have sort of a theme or a question in your back pocket that can be the starter for the session and part of your promo. Saying that, so I don't know, what's an example? Well, Canada Day, we had quite the deluge. Do we want to talk about the value of or the horror of water in our lives? I'm just saying something that's kind of relevant and it could, I don't know, maybe that's a really bad example, but I'm thinking, what is something that we all share? We all share the notion that the likelihood of that being normal is pretty low. And so how are we dealing with the climate change narrative?
Or data centers.
Yeah.
Well, that too, exactly. So there are some things that come to the fore in terms of what's going on around us that might serve as initial themes. The data centers, the issue about that is all about water. Am I right, Joanna? It's all about water. So who has a perspective or some expertise or concerns about that, so we can all learn from one another instead of mainstream media?
Okay, so for you, Leanne, I guess you find value in gaining more knowledge from like an expert of sorts.
Yeah, just exploration, mutual exploration. I get to learn from you when I talk or when I listen, so if I'm really concerned about the data centers and the impact that has on nature and earth, then if you put something in your invitation about we're going to be exploring data centers and the impacts of that, then I may very well kind of tune in. If it's not a concern of mine, I might not. It's just, what it's so it is kind of hit and miss. I don't know.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm experiencing, like, because there's been inconsistency with attendance, and I just, like, I question, should I even continue this? Is a legitimate question for me, because
Summer is not the best yardstick.
Yeah, that's true too.
sorry, what's not the best yardstick?
Summer.
Summer. Oh, I guess. Yeah, people are busy. Like summer keeps people on vacation and traveling.
Vacation.
Well, people are out walking. Look, it's still light out. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful evening,
It's true.
right?
Watering their gardens.
Okay. No, this is valuable insight for that. And I guess for me, like my goal was to build momentum, to have something consistent that we could rely on. Because once again, I'm modeling what I've benefited from with my men's circle. So we show up every Monday, or at least I show up pretty much every Monday with very minimal like absent times. But I found it so, for me, like rejuvenating, because I'm not one to really journal too much or at all. But I find that showing up once a week is my journal. It's like my living journal. And I get asked questions that I might not have thought to ask myself. And then I go, oh, this is a good check-in. How am I feeling today? What is going on around me? And how am I responding to these things? And it's a nice time for me to like kind of slow down, ground, get some clarity on myself. And my main goal is really just like to help bring more self-awareness to ourselves, like to each other, and to know that we can be a support system for each other, even in just the listening. That's another thing I've realized too, that it's the advice isn't what's helping. It's actually just the listening and to feeling heard and seen and witnessed in our vulnerable states, to be able to just vocalize like, I'm having a shitty day, or I'm really angry at this person, or whatever it is. I think is important, because like for me, I tend to bottle a lot of things up. And so even just this past Monday, I had a very powerful experience where I've been really kind of down and really negative self-talk. But our leader Robin facilitated a process for me where he got me to vocalize that. He's like, tell me all the things that that voice in the back of your head is saying. And so I did. And then he said, now pick another man. So I picked my friend Dan, and he's like, now say all those things to him. And I was like, whoa, I can't do that. But it was like noticing the tension there of like, it was so easy for me to talk negatively about myself. And then, realizing that obviously I would never say this to anyone else. And then by the end, like moving through the process, it was asked like, what do I need? And so I realized I needed love and appreciation. And they said, how can we support you? And then I was like, this is going to sound crazy, but I want you all to lift me up, like in a mosh pit style, where they all just, and because I've seen this process done for other people, and I've always been reluctant to ask for things or take up space. So even me going through the process was rather new. But like that was me at my most vulnerable, like physically. I remember being like, they're all holding me up, and I said, guys, I'm a heavy guy. I'm also worried about crushing you. And they're like, don't worry, there's like 10 of us. So anyways, yeah, that was a really powerful moment for me. It's like because what I'm realizing, more important than any textbook or podcast, is like experiential truth or experiential wisdom. Something that, like, now I have this memory, right? And so I have this thing to kind of go back on and be like, oh yeah, I am supported, and there are some brothers that have my back. And so that I want to take that culture that has helped me so much, and I want to see if I can extend that into the I Am Wellness community. And it's just, I guess it's just been a struggle to get the consistency, the regular attendance, and or even just people checking the newsletter. So I'm just looking for like some suggestions on, what would bring you in, what would make this valuable for you to show up consistently and experience this level of support that we don't really have in our everyday. Sometimes, the isolation epidemic, I think, is still there, even though we're past the COVID times.
Well, I think that people is or are what makes life valuable. It's as easy as that. Two components, people and love, and they're interconnected. And that connection is vital, and that's something that would keep people coming. It just takes time. It takes time to build that kind of rapport and camaraderie. But basically, everybody just wants love in their life. Everybody just wants to have people and friends in their life. So any groups that I belong to, it's not necessarily about the syllabus or whatever we're learning. It's more about the people sitting around the table, because I'm learning with them and they're learning with me, and we build together. So I just I think if you get some compelling topics or compelling dynamics at the onset, you may very well be surprised. But you're working with, now the world has changed and we're now doing things virtually. And that makes what you're trying to do even more of a challenge, I believe. It's lovely to have the convenience. Joanna's in Almont. It's not like it'd be easy for her to get into town every week or every month or whatever. And so it's easy for me to walk up the stairs into my office and sit with you for 90 minutes. It's a lot easier than me getting in my car and driving 20 minutes, and then I get home later at night, and but the dynamics are different. It's harder to do virtually because it's a feeling, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, to get that same level of connection is not going to quite translate on the screen, so it's a little less compelling. It has the convenience factor.
Right, Alex?
Sorry?
This is once a month?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm willing to go out once a month to an event like this. because I don't really have I choose not to have too many events. Oh,
Oh,
that one is really
we're losing you.
but that would work. That would work for another unstable event here happening with computer.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. And what else was I gonna say? Uh Something about yeah, like when I did my new moon circle for years. Sometimes there'd be a lot of people. Sometimes there'd be one, two. Sometimes it was just me. And I and when that happened, well, I it was funny. Uh, uh, you know, it's in core that there is the amount of interest that you'd like to see for people like committing to going, to showing up. And now I remember what I was going to say. I am really grateful that you send reminders, with all of the stuff that AI offers on your computer or Apple or whoever you're with. It's too bad they don't have like an alarm system. Like, okay, you signed up for a Zoom call or you signed up for some kind of experience and it's the time, and gee, why don't have a little alarm that goes off? Why
I
doesn't
know there
somebody
is like if you add Zoom to your calendar, it can function like an alarm. You just have to do the settings, I guess.
oh yeah, that does exist?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'll have to look into that. Well.
Mhm. In fact, I think in some of the links, I actually had a button that you could add to your Google Calendar. So I'll try to keep including that in the future emails. Um, yeah, okay, I hear that. So I guess yeah, moving on to just one more question to wrap things up is like, what do you want to build together? Like by investing in this community, what could be the thing that we are, what are we co-creating, I guess, and what would you like that to be? There's no right or wrong. There's just, we're coming into these things with dreams and passions and visions, and so I just want to hear. Yeah.
Well, I like to, I appreciate very much people who are like-minded. That doesn't mean they have to agree with me, but like-minded. So that are soul and heart and soul driven as opposed to intellectually. I mean, I appreciate the brain as well. Don't get me wrong, but I can get that anywhere almost, whereas the uniqueness of the community may very well be that we could focus on things like spirit and the impact that has on our rejuvenation. To Joanna's point, that if I've spent time with somebody and I drive away with more energy than I arrived with, I know that I've been in the right place. And so I want to be in the right place. If I'm going to come here, I want to make sure that I'm in the right place. So I need to be moved by realness. So I want to be in the right. I need to be. That sounded like an audio glitch.
It might be like feedback.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful, but
Okay, thank you. The realness is. I get the impression a lot of people are craving a certain level of authenticity, especially in a world of AI and kind of, I want to call them fake gurus. You know, there's like they're a dime a dozen now at this point, and
absolutely.
everyone's trying to give advice. And yeah, I think definitely people are craving some real talk.
Yeah, and I just think that there might be things that are happening around us that we don't realize that are having an impact. And maybe this is where this is a safe space to be able to talk about. Again, I'll go back to the weather piece there. You know, I believe very strongly, unfortunately, that there is such a thing as weather manipulation. So now when I'm seeing outrageous weather patterns, I'm not thinking climate change. I'm thinking there are people who are manipulating our atmosphere to scare the living daylights out of specific geographical populations. And that's just so absurd to me and very evil. And I don't think that I'm alone in that thinking, but that's the type of stuff that I think it would be kind of cool to explore, because maybe somebody else has done research and they say, well, you know, Leanne, it's not just hydrogen. What they're doing is, or actually, no, that's been disproven. Oh, really? Okay. Can you tell me? You know what I mean? It's that kind of real stuff is what I mean.
Okay, so being able to have a dialogue and get to the truth without us identifying with our beliefs.
Well,
Right.
the thing is that, yeah, I mean, just by having a conversation, I can learn about, okay, maybe you're not in agreement with me and that's fine, but I could hear your perspective. But at least it's a safe place to be able to say something as crazy as, you know what? There are people that are manipulating our weather.
Mhm.
And then when somebody says, prove it, I say, oh, I don't know that I can. But I do, when I look at the patterns of the stuff and the outrageous stuff we've been experiencing, I don't find that very difficult to believe. And I would love to be proven wrong if anybody has any insight. You know, that's kind of.
Yeah,
Mm.
I get that.
I think another thing a lot of us are aware of is our desires now, which is probably up there in the most important aspect of our beings.
So what turns our cranks?
It's the frequency side. So, me, go.
Oh, Joanna, it's getting
Okay,
really bad.
I have
Maybe
one
when
side
you're
there.
sharing, yeah, I'd advise maybe turn off the
Diverted,
video again
but
so we
getting
can at least hear you.
Well, how about we all turn the video off when Joanna's speaking, and then that way,
Sure.
no bandwidth,
that.
right? Okay. But practice what I preach.
okay, you can hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, let me get back on that wavelength there. Yeah, but frequencies. Okay, why is the video on? I don't know. Is to discuss that, like I've my personal experience is like an environment where the general household had more frequencies. And I could get a sense of the energy, the extra energy that I required to my frequency up. Now that I had moved to a place where the frequency is higher, boy, what a difference. So that kind of stuff is interesting for me. And if I can provide anything from my life experience in sharing my stories that would benefit another person, I would say that's would really make my attending worthwhile. Not that it has to be, because sometimes I need the support. And sometimes I'm just goofy, and if I can provide some laughter, well, that's really good medicine. So I'm happy to hear things like that too, just being goofy and getting people to laugh, that's great. Yeah, so yeah, just I guess generally sharing, and whatever happens happens.
So I didn't hear all of that, Joanna, but what I heard, the part that I heard kind of intrigues me, that you're offering to provide some insight as to some of your life experience for the benefit of other people. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that ties in well with the theme of sharing story that I was using Pulse for, and I had the thought of maybe like every month when we do this, that there's like a guest speaker, like somebody contributes something, and they have like 15-20 minutes of just, they're going to share something about themselves or some kind of modality or whatever they're interested in, and then we kind of maybe center the call around that. So maybe that's something I can integrate. I still feel like I'm not totally clear, but maybe it doesn't have to be that clear of what this is. It really is just me opening the space and saying we can have these kinds of conversations, where we can be authentic and real with each other. That's really what I just want to introduce people to this way of conversing, because I noticed that there's a lot of superficial talking in certain circles, sometimes with work colleagues or whatever. And even in some friend groups, I know that there's some people out there who are like, I have a friend group, but I feel like we only connect on this thing and want to go a little deeper. So I think that's what this space I want it to be. And then tying back into the I Am Wellness portion is like, yeah, how are we supporting our well-being as a group? And
Well,
part
I
of
think
that has to do with sharing.
part of just the notion came to mind, that what has happened since 2021, I guess it was, is the promotion of division. And this is exactly what you're trying to oppose.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, right? You're just
agree.
five people and creating a community where people can gather together, as opposed to, and it doesn't mean again that we all have to agree, but it's a safe space where come on down and come on and meet us and let's have a chat. Let's just, explore with one another, grab your water or your tea or whatever, and let's sit for however long and get to know one another and see what's on your mind. But I think the other thing that I would say is, and this is probably a given, but I would suggest that you think about what's your end result, your ideal end result first, and then work your way backwards into, okay, how am I going to try to make this happen?
Yeah.
What are so, you know what I mean?
I like to share that then, if that's the question, is for me, the end result is a group of us build a business together. That is, it's not the end result, but to me, that is a significant milestone, because the problem I'm trying to address is our level of physical security. Because there's a lot of well-intentioned people, including myself, in this space of trying to make the world a better place, trying to be counterculture and oppose, oppression. But at the same time, we're struggling just at a meat and potatoes kind of way, right? Like struggling to pay the bills, and some of us are doing a little better off financially than others, and I want us to be able to maybe share some of that wisdom, so we can build something together, so that I'm not now restricted to being employed by some other company that doesn't share my values and can lay me off anytime, which has happened multiple times for me. that if we build a business together, we are building our own level of resilience. The longer term vision for me is we've now built multiple businesses and we formed our own economy. And so now we are like, now we're really providing that stability and then creating a space where like I want to be able to have a business where I can just start hiring from within the community and being like, hey, there's a job opening here. We need somebody to do this, right? Instead of relying on matrix jobs, we start creating our own jobs for each other. And I think because like if everyone becomes like a solo entrepreneur, which I see a lot of in the community space, right? How many healers and stuff are offering massages, Reiki, counseling, but they're all doing it on their own, right? And they're all doing their own marketing, they're all doing their accounting, or if they're outsourcing to what I call matrix people, or NPCs, or whatever it is, people that are not quite in alignment with our values. And I want us to build an economy. And so I was just trying to figure out like what is that first layer, and then that's what this kind of started off to be, was like, how do we build trust, how do we get to know each other, and then what can we build together? And for me, it's having some form of financial stability.
I have an idea. It just came to me. So usually when I was facilitating circles, I would have an intention, a group intention. And so I guess it may be sort of like a theme, but not always. Usually in the line of being of service to the whole, to the all that is. And we're in a massive time of change, and sometimes you just have to have that intention and visualize. So maybe having a period of like implementation, just to bring us all together, sharing that intention. That might help. Because yeah, that's kind of a lot of people's vision, being self-sufficient. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to solve all those problems on a Zoom call or many Zoom calls. So I tend to just kind of surrender into trust and know that things will happen at the right time, that I will be guided, a group will be guided, and then that will be time to, in the physical realm, manifest something very specific. So I don't know if that's useful or not.
I think if I'm understanding correctly, because we lost you through part of that, and it seems the timing really sucks, because it seems to me that you got some really good ideas and pearls of wisdom that we're missing. But my sense is that I think that things can happen naturally. If you have in the back of your mind, Alex, that you want to build a directory of skill sets and directions that you can put to use in terms of different businesses, that's very different than what I think. That's more likely to happen organically, and it might be in the back of your head. I don't know. Because I belong to a professional collective group, and I've not stepped up at all. I know that they're struggling and they're trying, and it's a bunch of consultants that they're trying to solidify under their one umbrella. And it hasn't necessarily worked, because it's their vision, it's not everybody else's vision. So, I mean, I think when I think about some of the things that can be offered from the I Am Wellness group, Wendy put out a call about food. And the thing was that when I went to that link, I had to register and I had to create a password. She's like, oh, forget it. I live alone. I don't need a lot of food. Forget it. So I think there might be some value in explaining at one of these sessions as an example. So we have this food collective. This is how it works. And this is why we do it. So then we could understand. And then if you're getting royalties as a result of our orders, then that's your business, not my business. You know what I mean? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, I understand that. No, we're definitely not getting royalties or anything.
No,
It's
no, no,
just,
I wasn't implying that. But I'm just saying that's where a business mind comes in. That you can make these things available and explain to people, and you're going to use the house as the hub. There should be a cost to that. And that cost is borne by the individuals who are taking advantage of the effort that goes into that. And I'm not saying, you put an extra $100 on their grocery order, not at all, but to take $5 or $10 off of each individual who's able to do this because you're the drop-off point and you're the one doing the ordering, that's not unreasonable. That's a business, and that's in the back of your head. I don't need to know that.
wait, I guess I don't understand that other part, that you don't need to know that.
If you're running a business, it's not my business to see your books.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If my radishes are going to cost me $1.50 instead of $1, then I'll buy my radishes somewhere else if I have a problem with that. But you're the one that is doing the work to allow me to not have to go out and buy radishes. I can get my basket of everything at your place on a specific day that you've ordered for me as a result of my request. So there should be a cost to that, is what I'm saying. To me, that's business.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And really, when it comes to the pantry for Soulshine, that's more of an extension of just supporting what they're doing and, offering, organic and products produced by the community. But yeah, when I'm talking business, I need something substantial. And this is perhaps just my opinion, is that food should not be the business. Mostly because food security is I'd like to make that available for everyone, but it is not necessarily a profitable business. It's hard to break even in restaurants and farms and stuff. But if we can at least bring in something lucrative, something financial, something that the matrix needs. This is another thing where I'm noticing with the businesses in our communities is we're all serving each other, right? Oh, you need an energy healing thing here, or you need some nutritional counseling or whatever. We're drawing from a very limited pool of resources if we're only servicing each other, and then maybe some people on the fringes. But where I see the greater potential is if we can build something that creates value for the matrix, that the matrix is willing to pay handsomely for, then now we're drawing resources from there and utilizing them for the community. And I'd like that to stay within the community. And I could go on, but we don't have tons of time.
Well,
but I will ask one more thing, Leanne, is this a topic you'd be interested in discussing if I made one of these events, let's talk business, let's explore options and ideas, who has expertise on how to market, how to actually manage a business, things like that? Is that of interest?
Well, I don't really know, because I don't have the type of skill set that the I Am Wellness group is looking for. I have not developed any intuitive gifts. I have a great internal voice that I follow, and that's pretty good for me. But it's not like I share that. So it's the same thing. The very first I Am Wellness event that I went to, you guys were looking for different people with different skill sets. I didn't fit into that, and that's why I've not been engaged. When Wendy would be holding her women's circle or whatever that was called, I'd come, and I'm sure I contributed to that in some capacity. But it wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm going to do your tarot card reading for you, or let me guide a meditation. So that's what I'm saying is I don't have a problem in participating. I'm just not a contributor to the type of skill set that the matrix needs.
Well, what I'm wondering if you're misinterpreting things in that we were not looking for anything specific. Like, you don't have to be some kind of energy intuitive healer. There just happened that gravitated a lot of people towards I Am Wellness, but you seem pretty successful in life. You seem to know business. That is a value. That is an asset. This is when I talk about the matrix, like I'm talking about like the people that aren't in I Am Wellness and how we can serve those people. So for instance, like, and this is just me throwing ideas out, is like, what if we had a property management company? We could manage properties, make income doing that, but we also instill our values into that business. So not only are we making money off of a service that the matrix is already paying for, you know, we could be owning properties, collecting rent, but then also providing them with additional resources and networks and things like that. So we could take a regular matrix job and then elevate it to our values while still being what I was getting at is we seem to be looking to each other to get the business. And that's where I think the problem is. So like even with the pantry is looking to the community to support it. But if we look at the community as a whole, we actually have if we were to add up all the money we have, that's a very limiting market, right? We've kind of pigeonholed ourselves into just serving our internal community, which has its own value in it for its own reason. But like the value I see that you could bring, Leanne, is your real world experience. That has nothing to do with nutrition or healing or whatever you think wellness is. And this is why, and perhaps maybe the branding of I Am Wellness itself wasn't done properly, was because for me, I included financial wellness or well-being into the association, was because it is something we all need right now in this world. And we're struggling to make it. And so I'm happy to look at people who understand investment, who understand where to put money, how to manage and budget money, you know, different, you know, avenues for that. So that's kind of where my head is at. And I'm sorry that you felt that you didn't quite fit in, because the whole goal was that we all fit in. We just need to know what we all have to offer. And I don't know what you have to offer if you don't share what you have to offer, right?
This is not very sexy.
Hmm?
It's not very sexy.
What's not very sexy?
What I have to offer, I can facilitate, I can write, I can edit, I can inspire, and I can motivate, but I don't do elevations, and I don't do anything.
Sure, it doesn't have to be sexy, but it's needed.
While I have a connection here, it's pretty bad. So I'm going to say good night because my connection is getting worse.
Mhm.
So thank you, Alex. Good to meet you, Leanne.
Thank you, Joanna. Nice to meet you too. We'll see you again. Okay.
Hopefully
Thanks,
there won't be a storm and there'll be better reception.
Good
Okay.
luck with the cats.
Okay.
Ciao for now.
All right. Bye for now. And well, I guess this really the timing is appropriate too. We're a little bit over the time, but yeah, thank you for your contributions. It's been a good discussion, and I guess I have some thinking to do on like what the next month will be, how it'll be facilitated. And I guess I'm hoping, like, did you get value out of this, Leanne?
Oh, sure. I mean, it was a nice way to spend the evening, part of the evening. Yeah, and I mean, I hadn't ever met Joanna before, and having a conversation with you is never a waste of time. So no, it was fine. Thank you. You know, so anyway, it's difficult when you have a complete blank slate, you know, and so, you know, you clearly have a vision that you want to create commerce, not just for yourself, but for the community. So it's a collective of, and it's the same thing with the whole, I'm forgetting what it's called, the community that Wendy is always trying to develop, there's a specific term for it, but anyway, where a whole bunch of people live together and it's collaborative and it's cooperative and all that kind of stuff. Intentional community, that's right.
Yeah.
So you have an intentional community with more, with a business side, whereas hers is more domestic. That's my impression.
Yeah.
So if you know that, then that's what you put out there. You let people know that, okay, so let's get together. I want to explore some business opportunities. Can you bring your ideas and skill sets to the table and just see what happens, I guess.
Okay. That's super valuable. I think for me, I've been afraid to put too much out there because it can be overwhelming. Because I got a lot of ideas, but at the same time, I'm trying to be like grounded of like, how do we get this ball moving and who's invested enough? So this, but like, I feel like you brought a lot of value to this conversation. You just like, it's a fresh perspective. It's you're very grounded and yeah, like, I know you said what you do isn't sexy, but like what you do is probably more important than being sexy is actually, you can, we can make a nice, pretty poster and make everything look nice and sexy. But if the business can't operate, then the poster has no value at that point. So
Yeah,
just,
I'd like to just make a suggestion, then we'll go our separate ways for now. But
Sure.
I know you said you're not somebody who journals, but it would be a good idea for you to sit down and sketch out, not meaning artistry, but sketch out what is your vision in the ideal. Sketch that out, and all the ideas that come into your head,
yeah.
note them down. And I know that when I've been new somewhere in an organization, I learned that for the first half of my first year with them, I use my 2 ears and my mouth in the direct ratio. And I just write down every notion that comes across my mind where I'm thinking, this could be better. I'm going to change this. I think I got to explore this. And I just write it down. And then when I look at it 2 months later, go, oh, well, I've learned that, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, this is great. And so if you capture your ideas, is my point, get them. It doesn't mean they're going to live forever, but as you have them and as they come to the surface, note them down on paper somewhere in a little book or something. So then you have something to go back to. And then after your sessions that you have with people, somebody's giving you a great idea, note it down there, and that can become your entrepreneurial Bible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you.
I mean, anyway, okay.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. And I guess this is the perfect time to end the call.